And here we go. And as usual, I'm just going to talk as I watch the screen show that we are going to YouTube, although we're probably already there, but because I don't see that, I'm just going to keep talking.
All right.
And
Oh, I just
yes,
pressed it.
okay. We are officially live because I can see us in YouTube land. Hey,
Hola.
everybody. Amalia and Natalio with Karmic Kindness with Madeleine Parker along with me, as always, for our cosmic chat, talking about the Gemini new moon. And I'm sorry, we're a couple of minutes late to the live today. We got completely sucked into the Gemini energy of this
Chatty,
and
chatty,
that,
chatty.
chatty and distracted, and what about this and what about, and so here we are, finally. Hopefully we're going to get ourselves focused. It's actually something I was going to talk about today, is that just curious if anybody out there has had the same experience of, okay, I'm gonna, like earlier, I was going to put a load of laundry in. I needed to make lunch. I needed to get something from my bedroom, and then I needed to go back into the kitchen. I got completely sidetracked. I had a pan on the stove that was heating because I was just going to leave for a moment. And a good 7 minutes later, I'm making my way back in. I have the lights on in my laundry room. I have a cabinet door open. I'm like, okay, wow,
Wow.
focused. It was clearly apparent. So I'm just curious if anybody else is feeling that. And what I did in that moment was, okay, breath in, I'm here, I'm present. What's in front of me? What do I need to do? What am I focused on? And then I complete one task and then the next and then the next. So that was really helpful to me as I was scattered all over the place. So we're going to be talking about this Gemini energy, which you've likely already, all of us have been experiencing on one level or another. But with this Gemini new moon, it's occurring on June 6th at 8:38 a.m. Eastern. It's at 16 degrees, 17 minutes. And I want to share the parts of the body that Gemini is connected to, because I was feeling like it was somewhat relevant right now in what I'm noticing around me with people having a lot of issues with breathing, whether it's like respiratory stuff, coughing. I'm a lot of that. I've been doing some traveling, and there were people all around me that were coughing and having issues with
Are you
breathing.
sure that just wanted to add one thing because
Yeah,
Jupiter rules the lungs and Jupiter's been in combustion, which is why everyone's been having a lot of lung problems. So maybe the Gemini opposing Sagittarius had something to do with it. But
could be. Yeah,
yeah,
it could
I
be. I
mean, I
mean, it's
was,
like I feel like it's all relevant, because
yeah.
if that wasn't affecting people, this might be. So just be
Mhm.
on the lookout for that. Shoulders, hands, arms, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why the hands might be important later, with some remedial energy that might be supportive. And the other interesting, with the past few moon cycles, we've had a lot of activity right in the same sign and right around the moon. And this is no exception. There's a little bit of distance between the planets, but we've got the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter all in the sign of Gemini. So that's a lot of air, a lot
Yeah.
of air. And especially with Jupiter, with that expansive energy, we're likely going to experience it on a level that we haven't in quite some time. Now, as far as this moon cycle, the Gemini new moon, and Madelaine's going to dive deep into this, but I'm just going to do the usual quick overview of some of the energy that I see and I've been experiencing within my work. Is obviously with any new moon, the sun and the moon are hanging out together. And so there is, with this Gemini energy with the sun and the moon, there will be an opportunity for some easy emotional expression, especially with Gemini being a ruled by Mercury. It's a sign of communication, and Mercury rules communication, travel, short also. But the Venus is also hanging out with the moon, and Venus can be charming. And so think about this in terms of how you're relating with people, you may come off as a bit more charming. You might be able to express yourself more diplomatically. But we also have Saturn square the moon. And anytime there's a square, there's a little bit of tension. There's maybe a little bit of a nudge for you to engage with this energy a bit differently. And so here you might have difficulty expressing or communicating your feelings, or being able to hide behind your default places instead of expanding beyond. And there you also may feel a little depressed because Saturn is in Pisces, and Pisces can be kind of it can feel low energy sometimes and feel kind of like, I think of it a little bit as Eeyore, like dun, 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 kind of a feeling. And Saturn, I don't know, Madelaine, maybe you could talk about this. I don't feel like Saturn's particularly comfortable in Pisces. It's not really a place that it wants to spend a whole lot of time. And when we have these energies at play and we've got this new moon, a chance to plant new seeds and to go a whole new way and set the intentions for this cycle, I have a few little tips that might be supportive in helping you navigate any sort of bumps in the road, if you will. So I mentioned the hands before. This might be a really great time if you're having some challenges with this amped up Gemini energy, is to move your body, keep yourself from getting stuck in your head. That's going to be really important. Your mind is there to help you organize, but it's not designed to make decisions. So moving the energy, keeping it flowing, it will be really helpful. And you can also get creative using your hands. So moving energy by creation with pottery or knitting or woodworking or some sort of something that you're using with your hands that might give you a little bit of a jump start to help you get out of the head and into a creation mode and give you inspiration or insights into what you'd like to create with this moon cycle. And then with the talk that we were talking about, the lungs and air, Gemini being an air sign, breath work is also good. And it doesn't have to be intense breath work. It can be just simple breath awareness, taking, really deep belly breaths, feeling the air moving in and out of your lungs, and having a connection more with the present moment, really like coming into your body in a way of the breath being that vehicle to do that. So kind of an overview, a very, very simplistic overview, because there's a lot of activity in the chart for this full moon. And I'm going to leave Madelaine to do the heavy lifting on that. But I just wanted to give kind of the basics of what I'm seeing. And interestingly enough, I was looking at some cards, kind of getting some energy as we start. And the Bird of Paradise was the card that came out for all signs for the Gemini new moon. And it's so funny because it activates connection, and that can be connection, heart-mind connection. And the message is quiet your mind. So I love that, where it's literally telling us, as we're in this very air mental Gemini energy, don't let it run away with you, really come back into that connection with your heart too, and be able to navigate from that place, maybe set intentions from that place, putting your hand on your heart. You could even do, I forget what the UFO hold, I think is what it's called, where you put one hand on your forehead and one hand on the back of your skull, and you can lay down. I find laying down is much better, to just quiet the mind and come into the body a bit more, and it just settles you. It might take a few minutes, but I know that anytime I do that, it helps me settle, my mind settle, because I'm a very active mental person, and that feels really nice. So just another little tip for anybody who's looking for
grounding.
support.
Grounding. I like to sit on a rock by the water. I love it. Just drain everything you wanted. Because if you think of it like we're electrical, we're water, we're like whatever, 80-90% water. And then we're also electricity. So we're batteries. We're literally like electrical batteries. And so if you think of it, it's creating an arc, all these, Gemini energies. And so you got to connect to the ground so that the arc gets, so it completes the arc.
Yeah.
So you want to ground on something granite. Sit on a big rock of granite and you'll just feel it instantly happen. Or barefoot outside. Anyway.
Yeah. Simple,
Yeah.
simple.
Interesting stuff. Yeah.
Simple, easy, free things you can do to really
Yeah.
Pam Gregory, an astrologer whom I think both of us have
Great. Yeah.
tremendous amount of respect for. She always describes it in her, when she gives her talks, and she's like, it's a woomph into the body. And I think that's such a great sound, because that's really, when you're like in it, if you've been way out here and you come in, it is like a woomph. And being on the ground, being on a rock, earth is a great way to come back in and bring yourself into resonance with the earth, which is, where we're all designed to be. So, okay, Madelaine, are you ready to share the chart and go into the good stuff?
My mind is just all over the as well. All right, so I'm going to share the screen with everybody here and show everybody what this looks like, because this is a very interesting full new moon. It's a new moon, yeah.
New moon. Yep.
What's very interesting about it is that we have this Venus. First of all, 16 degrees is the tower card in tarot. So whenever you get a full moon or new moon at a 16 degrees, you're going to get some kind of a breakdown of an old structure or some kind of a collapsing of an old way. And we are literally ending an 8-year Venus cycle, because these Venus cycles happen every 8 years. So we're starting a new Venus cycle. On this new moon, we have the Venus cazimi with the sun and the moon, like you said, squaring Saturn. And then another big deal we have, because on this actual new moon, Mercury, who rules the new moon, is in combustion, just like all the last full moons and new moons. The ruler of that planet is in some form of combustion. And then we also have Saturn squaring it. And so Saturn is squaring Venus. So what happens when, and then one more other thing I want to throw in there, which is really interesting, is the nodes. They're trining the nodes. So what's happening is we're starting a new Venus cycle, but we have to learn the lesson from the old Venus cycle. So everybody can think back to June 2016, when that cycle began. And most people I know that I've spoken to have been going in some sort of karmic loop in relationships and romance. Now, Venus doesn't just mean love and romance. It can mean what makes you happy. It can be like, for instance, if it's a job or work, to alter your work in a way that is more pleasing to you, or more pleasing, or you think it creates more pleasure, or it's more beautiful, or it's more aesthetic. But basically, Venus is money, possessions, arts, creativity, and really all the things that please us in life, that make life pleasurable. So we're having this rebirth of that. We're having so we have a death in that, because whenever a planet meets the sun, it's going to die, and it's the end of that cycle. And then it meets with the sun and tells the sun, well, here's what I did wrong, here's what I did right. How are we going to take this next 8-year cycle? What's our new lesson? Because we're always progressing, we're going up. So in this new cycle, so that last cycle that we're ending, we've learned a big lesson. And I'll tell you what we've learned. What hasn't been fully pleasing to us, what hasn't been fully real to us, what isn't, we've learned a lesson. And it's mostly karmic, because Saturn is involved, but also because the last cycle of this Venus, we didn't have a lot of these other planets in the picture, and we didn't have the nodes in the picture. So it was almost like we had to go on a cycle of what we didn't really want, what didn't really please us. And even if you're in a relationship, it would be something about the relationship or something about the structure of that relationship that you want to start different. You're going to start the relationship again, but this time on a new, you've learned some lessons, most likely around communication, because we're in the Gemini. So it's going to involve communication, and also what we think, because we're going to get we've learned something new that's changing our mind, because as you know, these are mutable energies. So your mind is changing. So we're going to have a big change of mind. We're going to know something. We're going to have clarity. We're going to know what makes us happier now. We're going to know how we want to proceed in our relationships or in a new relationship or in work. For instance, you could suddenly get this big clarity about how you want to proceed on social media that pleases you, that makes you happy. Because here's the thing about Venus. When we do what makes us happy, when we do what, and by the way, this is about the soul because Venus is with the sun. And the reason Saturn is squaring this and it's all trining the nodes is because we have to align with what is true, what really makes us happy, the relationship that is true. This is a waking up energy of realizing, because Jupiter's there, that trining Pluto, by the way, which is really intense, but we're seeing a truth about how we want to expand our relationships and what makes us happy in life, and to align with what we do, our work, how we work, and our relationships, so that they're more in alignment with what truly makes us happy. So that could be a new relationship, or now you realize, a lot of people are going to realize who they truly love, because we're going in the soul, because Venus is with the sun. So we're going to wake up, because Gemini is the energy of learning, knowing, new clarity, Ace of Swords in tarot. We're going to have a new clarity about who it is we really want to be with, what is in the soul aligned. And then with Saturn squaring this, Saturn's not going to let you go forward unless it's really aligned. That's what Saturn does. And Saturn in Pisces is an interesting energy, because Saturn is always the rule, the law, the order. The true cosmic order is passes through Saturn. Nothing in life, if we want to materialize, a lot of people have to learn how to structure what they want in accordance with Saturn. So in other words, Saturn is the big boss. If we don't follow Saturn's rules, there's blockages, there's more to grow, there's more learning. So some people with that Saturn square will be blocked if what you want to align with in love or things that please you are not Saturn. And what is Saturn making you do? Making sure you make the choice that lasts the long haul. Making sure you align your next ideas, your next, this new cycle is going to be blocked by Saturn until you're in alignment with it. In other words, you're hitting with the rules of Saturn, which is the rules of how it will work in the long haul, which is that it has to be in your soul. It has to be the right thing. It has to come from deep within. It has to be in alignment with the internal. So we are finding the external mind with the internal. We're going to bridge these two. We're going to find it. It's very challenging when all this is going on in Mercury, when our minds are racing and so much energy trining Pluto. We're also with Jupiter in Gemini. We're going to be learning lots of stuff. We're going to have new, especially with the Pluto trine, our minds are going to be completely blown away by information and knowledge. We're really going to be expanding our minds in what we know in wherever Jupiter is aspecting our chart. So this is a really big rapid growth time of learning, a rapid growth time of learning about communication, how to connect and how to communicate a truth with Jupiter there, how to communicate, how to be like, how to find what is the truth for you. What do you really want? That's not what you think, because when all these planets get combust, and when you have the Saturn in the picture, it's everything is being put on hold and stopping to make sure. And you're going to go into deep sort of, shall we say, introverted exploration of what it is that is feeds the soul. Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is like wanting to create structure to the soul, to the unstructured. That's what Saturn Pisces is creating structure to that which has no structure, because Pisces is the least structured of all the signs. So it's basically following a cosmic order here, which is what will last, because the nodes are in the story. When we've got the nodes here, you see these nodes, these are our destiny. People are going to be letting go, because look at that. It's trining that south node in Libra, which is people dropping relationships that aren't in alignment, letting go of relationships, letting go of trying to control the relationship, allowing the relationship, the right relationship to happen by not controlling, letting go, by what you think. Then you've got the North Node there, sextiling, which creates an ease and flow to the right direction. So this is definitely a course, again, some kind of a major course correction in romance, in how we make our money, and basically sort of like burning off the old, because when you have these planets meeting with the sun, you're burning off, you're dissolving old ideas, old beliefs, old paradigms, and so new ones are coming in, a rebirth, and we, it's hard individually to experience, to see what that rebirth really looks like, but what it's going to be is going to be more honest and real, and shall we say authentic, and most likely not what you think. That's what always happens with these squares. It's like the ego gets a little bit of because it's squaring the sun. And whenever you see Saturn squaring the sun, you're going to go, no, for the long term, you're going to have to change the way you think. For the long term, you got to change something.
I feel like we've been in this position for probably a good year and a half of rethinking how we are engaging with life in terms of our future. What are we you said, I think you said earlier, what do you really want? I feel like that's been a theme for so many people. And if you haven't had any clarity on that, it seems like now is the time that you will have some clarity on what that is.
Yeah, but you're also going to come into face with something that's a disappointment. So there's going to be some sort of like a disappointment about something. Why is it not working? I'm upset about it. This never works. Saturn is blocking it. Saturn saying, no, because I don't understand something. I need to understand it. I need to adjust it. And then you go, oh. But that is how astrology often works, because we're in our heads thinking, and we're trying to sort of figure out our journey every day. And then astrology comes along and goes, no, not quite that way, this way, a little bit more. But when the nodes are in the picture, you're going to get a course correction all the time. And it's going to be more in alignment to your true destiny. So just a quick recap, new knowledge, new information, expanding everybody's minds, opening up people's minds with that Jupiter trining Pluto, the end of a cycle, lessons learned, no longer wanting to be repeated, and now people figuring out the right way to go that's going to last the long haul, that is much more in alignment because it's much more in touch with what they truly want. And usually with that Tower card, something comes down that we may have built that is not in alignment. But if you are in alignment, you're in the right relationship, or in your career, let's say you're in the right career, and maybe you change career around this. But if you're in the right thing or in the right relationship, you just restructure it. You just feel more of a flow. With that Pisces, by the way, Saturn, when you flow and not resist, you're gonna line up. It's almost like if you're in a river and there's walls along the side, you kind of just bop up against the walls, and then you just kind of head the right way, because Pisces is the energy of let go, let flow. Just let it bring, let this show you the way, So, and then of course, this is impacting the nodes. These are all in the mid degrees. We've got 13, 16 to 18 degrees. This is like, it's towards the middle of the decans in astrology, which is usually when you get to about 15 degrees, the soul really is on the other side of this lesson of that sign. Like they've mastered some of the shadow aspects of that sign. So we're mastering some of the shadow aspects of some of the decisions. So in other words, the last cycle, we made choices that were shadow aspect. Now we're learning to shift into the higher aspect, but the shadow aspect brought us into a place that did not work. That's going to come, boom, that comes down.
Yeah, I'm curious if anyone who's watching has experienced that themselves, if they reflect back on, the past few years, or even go back to 2016. I think 2016 for Venus. And then what was it, Madelaine, 2012, I think for Jupiter, like to reflect back on that, you know, because just looking at those two, I find it so fascinating to see there's, you know, there's a bit of a reverberation of different qualities of life experience, but the same general theme that's showing up again in a different format. And it's so interesting when you can see the pattern and how you're showing up, because, you know, at least for, you know, for me and the work that I do with my clients, it's like when we see the pattern and we see our role within the different dynamic of whatever that is, the relationship with, you know, maybe a home, or the relationship with the family member, or with a significant other, or with a job. And we see, oh, wow, I'm doing the same thing that I did way back then. Wait a second, let me shift, let me do something different. Let me try a different approach, because I can see where this is not working. It didn't work then. It's not working now. And now I have another opportunity. It's might be scary. It might be really uncomfortable, but that's actually where we're being guided to go, is into that place that might be super unfamiliar.
Yeah. Yes, because with Jupiter in this 12-year cycle, we're going to be. I mean, I'm trying to think of what happened when 2012, when Jupiter was in. I mean, I really did learn a crazy amount of stuff about spirituality and religions and astrology. I mean, I was doing tarot readings before that, but I had sort of like a major spiritual awakening, Jupiter and Gemini, because you get all this information starts. There's going to be a lot of communication, a lot of information coming out for the year.
Yeah.
And it does really progress us, because it opens our minds. So, and Jupiter shadow is like rigid thinking. So it's like, we're going to see a lot of information that opens our minds about it all, you know, opens our minds up more about it, about spirituality in general, because it certainly happened to me. The more I dig around online, the more I discover how important astrology is. And I used to just think, oh, it was just sort of something I'm really into and not a lot of people believe in it. And it's just like some kind of a weird thing. But it's like in the golden era, they knew the cosmic order. They understood the cosmology, and they also knew themselves. And they did, knowing yourself was your route to abundance. It was like written on the Apollo, know thyself.
Yeah.
And so astrology, it's like astrology is, that's what it's for. It's to know yourself, and to know yourself better. The more you know yourself, the better you know yourself, the better you are in alignment. You make aligned choices.
Well, and I feel like that also connects with the universal bigger picture of it all, because as we know ourselves better, we can show up in our day-to-day life in a more soul aligned way, and that actually helps everyone. And I mean, that's a big thing too with setting intentions too. It's like, set intentions for yourself, because like I just said, you know, as you show up better for yourself, you're showing up better for everyone else, but also setting intentions for the bigger picture, you know, like you were saying, the cosmic order, you know, maybe setting an intention, an energetic intention for the earth or for the galaxies. As crazy and out there as that might sound, it's really important that we're focusing our energy and our attention on things that are supportive, connected, compassionate, expansive, all of those things.
Yeah, like knowing where Pluto is in your chart for the next 15 to 20 years. It's like, learn that lesson now. Get ahead of that one. You know?
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah.
Let go. Just let go and trust, you know, as much as you can in that area of your chart. Like if it's in your relationship house, let go of your relationships, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a great point. I haven't taken a close look at that so much. I've been very much focused on other areas of my chart, but I feel like that could be significant. Like, dang, I want to go look at that.
Yeah, because it's a slow moving planet. The slower the planet, the more powerful of the impact, because it's moving so slow. So those energies are just like shooting down.
Yeah.
I've had it on my Venus for like 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Wow.
But it's my destiny, it's definitely helping me step into my destiny, because once you understand your chart, you understand what it's trying to teach you, and then you
Yeah.
let go and you resist it, and then it's not as bad.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
challenging.
there's an ease. There's an
Yeah.
ease. So, shall we dive into Aries and see
Let's
what's
do it.
happening with them?
Yeah. Okay, Aries. You guys have Gemini over your third house. Holy manoli, talk about mind racing. Oh my gosh. Because the third house is the house of Gemini. And that's like, you know, if you have a lot of planets in your third house that are like Uranus or Mercury, you're going to have a propensity to ADD. You're going to be a little ADD. So I'm going to say that Aries are going to have some real ADD stuff going on with them, and probably the whole time that Jupiter is in your third house for the whole year. But it could also just be that you're very, very curious and you want to learn more and you want to talk to people. And it's very communication and talking and learning, and arguments can pop in and all of that. But it's the mind will be expanded by the end of that transit, Jupiter there. And this new moon is going to potentially be the new beginning of a website, writing, ideas, learning something, speaking, a small business or your own business. And then it's like with you could start a new website, you could start a new writing project, starting a business, but then you see Saturn is coming in and making sure that this is in alignment with you, making sure you're following the right rules, making sure you're doing it right, making sure you know what you're talking about. You may have to get some education. Saturn's going to say, hey, you don't know enough about what you're talking about. You need to go learn. Or there's government restrictions you have to follow, or there's some sort of a license agreement type of stuff going involved, or taxes. I'm getting some email from people that are having tax fears and stuff like that. Me included. I'm afraid of, I've got Pluto in my 8th house, so I'm afraid of the tax situation. But I know I have to let go. And you have to like in that energy of the third house, you have to be like grounded in order to get thoughts that are, because in these kinds of energies you can get in misinformation, you could get the wrong opinions, the wrong ideas, the wrong knowledge. So that 16-degree thing is kind of like, oh, this is the right knowledge, this is the truth. Saturn's going to come in and make sure you know the right truth, the right way, all of that. And then the nodes being in your first house, your whole destiny, your identity is going to shift. Your whole identity basically shifts with the nodes at the end of that transit. It's another year. So when the nodes are out of your first house, you have a completely new identity. And then the south node being in your 7th, most Aries are releasing relationships or releasing toxicity in their current relationships, or ways that they've pretzeled themselves to be in the relationship. But basically they're shifting into a more authentic relationship, or more authentic in their relationship. Go ahead.
I dig it. I love how you brought up about the 16 degrees and that shifting of more the, I want to say like the smaller self to the expanded self, in other languaging to what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And that connects very much into the flower for Aries, and that's the red hibiscus. And the red hibiscus activates a fresh perspective. And I think you were pretty much saying that in what you were sharing a moment ago. And the messages hit the refresh button. So there might be challenges in their lives that are going to give them a new perspective on something. And that will contribute to their personal growth. That's going to contribute to how they show up differently in the world. And maybe it has to do with how they communicate, or what their, what their focus is on themselves. Like you said, the nodes in the first house, or within relationships, like letting go of things that aren't really as aligned as they might have thought, like seeing them with a new set of eyes. And the red hibiscus also, I love, is so fiery looking. There's like, it's like red hot
Very
potential.
airy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a waking up energy. It's like realizations. Aha, I see now, kind of an energy. And then that, in a way, that picture is like the inside and the outside were the same color. So it's like,
yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
It looks intense to me. So this may feel intense. This moon cycle may feel intense for Aries. Oh, and by the way, the deck that I'm using for anyone who's curious is the Flower Evolution deck by Katie Hess of LOTUSWEI. And these flowers that I'm sharing today are in a number of their elixirs and mists and serums that are really supportive no matter where you are on your journey for this moon cycle and beyond. And I also have these mapped to different karmic energies through the spiritual sciences that I work with. So if people are looking for, more refined support that can come through some of these plant remedies, I'm happy to guide you on that if you need a little help. So, okay, Madelaine, Taurus.
So you guys have Gemini over your second house. So that's shifting your mind, a more in alignment way of earning money that pleases you, that's happy. It could be also that you start a creative expression, a creative talent. Second house is making things with your hands. I mean, it's possible you do start making pottery. I love pottery. I want to start doing pottery. You start making things, a new job, simply a new job. Now this job could involve communication, writing, or talking. Well, that's communication. It could be a relationship. Sometimes the second house, since it is a Venus house, it could be that you start a new relationship. But with the square to Saturn, and Saturn being in your 11th house, there's going to be, or it could be social media networking or people that you meet networking. I'm trying to think what Saturn will block there with that square. Maybe you start a creative project on social media and it's being blocked, or something you've been trying to do on social media and it's been blocked, but now you get clarity to how to make it work in a way that works for you to be online, to show up online, that lasts the long haul, that's more in alignment. Or you meet a person, 11th house, and you fall in love, but a situation is blocking it. Maybe they're still in another relationship, or they're not able to free themselves up, or they're just, it's a tribe group. Or you could end a tribe group relationship, and a tribal group of people is over, and then you start a new fresh start in doing something that you creatively want to do that doesn't involve those people anymore. I know some people who've had to not be involved with certain tribes and do things on their own more because they were just too afraid to do it on their own. So they were just trying to align with other people. So, but there's going to be clarity about a way of earning income and making money, and a talent or a gift you possess, or you could also have an inheritance or something. You could get some kind of a new possession, a new valuable, beautiful possession. You could start selling beautiful things. David Beckham has his Venus in the second house in Gemini. He's Taurus rising. And he always sells watches and beautiful cars and high-end things. So you might get a job selling high-end things. Mercury is selling. And then maybe the social media crossing there, it's like, you have to sell it, certain rules, you have to regulations before you do that or something. Maybe there's some sort of a restriction, but we're all going to have to work with that Saturn square. Like it or not.
I know, just makes me giggle. So interestingly, we have the banana blossom, which color-wise is very similar to what we just saw with Aries. The message from banana blossom speaks about having a spacious mind. So not allowing our the Taurus mind to be filled with a bunch of clutter. The message is to slow down a little, and you might need to slow down a little in order to know what it is that what is valuable to you, what is important for you to focus on when it comes to the material, or maybe the comfort around you. This also brings a message of confidence in your ability to achieve. So Madelaine, you were talking about that as well. And this is an opportunity when you have that confidence to bring projects to fruition that could lead to some financial abundance and wealth creation, perhaps for you. So
Yep.
the banana blossom.
That second house often shows up as not as where we don't value ourselves or see our value. So maybe you now have clarity. You raise the price of your business. You raise the price. You see your value.
Yeah.
Yep. That's an angle on it too.
Yep. Good stuff.
Nice. All right, Gemini, you guys are probably going bananas. You have stellium in your first house. Holy manoli. So new image, new identity. Usually when I see new moons or full moons in a first house, the person, and I'm doing readings for them and they see them right there, they have a hat on, they got a new hairstyle. It's like a new identity. But you know, you've got Jupiter there in your first house. So that's going to be a year of initiation, starting new things, new ideas, new knowledge, learning a lot, rapid expansion of who you are, because the first house is like your individuality, what makes you different, your body, your health. A lot of people can gain weight with Jupiter in the first house. So, you know, that's something to look out for. Then you've got Saturn squaring your first house. So that's like Saturn in general, because Saturn's going to be squaring your first house all year. So, I mean, for another year and a half, I think at least. So you're being made to mature, take on more responsibilities, or take seriously the responsibilities that your new life or your new identity is coming in with. You have to sort of, there's a maturity involved, that because Mercury is a very young energy. It's very mutable. Geminis change their mind all the time. They're happy-go-lucky. They're mercurial. They're a little bit childlike, right? Because that's Mercury. So Saturn coming in and squaring you is saying, yes, that's all fun and games, but you got to do this better. You got to learn this rule. There's a rule thing. You got governments coming in and making sure you do something right, you know. And where is Saturn for them? That's going to be in their 10th house. Ooh. So yeah, you might get government taxing, or, you know, government coming in and making you redo your license. And, or if you're in some sort of a psychological or you know, therapist or something like that, they might want you to redo your license, or you might want to grow, you might want to learn something and then get more credentials. But Saturn in your 10th house, you're going to be matured on some level. By the end of that transit, you will have upgraded your career quite a bit, but you're probably learning a lot with that Jupiter there. And then Venus is there. So you're having the rebirth of Venus, this whole new cycle in your first house. And I forgot to say that Taurus is ruled by Venus. So they're going to experience that side of it. But with Gemini having Venus reborn in your first house, there's just this big, fresh new outlook on love, fresh new outlook on what you're going to be. I know some Geminis that are probably really going to align with their true loves, their true person here in these energies, because the nodes are here, and the nodes in Saturn, it's like, this is the romance that's going to take you to your future, that aligns with your whole destiny. And it's also maturing. You're maturing. So you're seeing who the true person is. You're not just going by they're cool, or they look good, or how they look, or they have a job there, or whatever superficial reasons people choose relationships for. So that's basic.
Yeah, I mean, I feel I'm excited for Geminis, for this particular new moon for them. And what I find, I'm so tickled when this happens. So with the dandelion for them, one of the questions on the card is, are you experiencing neck and shoulder tension? And if you remember at the beginning of this cosmic chat, I was talking about and sharing how the neck and shoulders are connected with Gemini. So Gemini, you may notice this. You may notice that this tension in your upper body because you're holding on to things, and it's an opportunity for you to recognize when this happens, and how can you dissolve that tension? How can you relax a little bit more? Because this dandelion activates relaxation. So maybe now is a time for you to just utilize breathing techniques, or maybe get a massage, or, you know, do self-massage on your shoulders, use some really beautiful oils, or, you know, maybe with a friend, you know, have a friend come over and you each give each other like a little bit of a shoulder and neck massage. I mean, that is really fun. Maybe with a glass of wine or something, or a beautiful.
Yeah, well, they're going to want that grounding advice the most.
Yeah, right. Now, this also, what I love about this is
yep.
it also magnifies mental freedom and activates joyful presence. And so I love that image of, for Gemini with this dandelion. It's like, because even with dandelions, like they kind of remind me of summer. And dandelions kind of get a bad rap. And I think Geminis can sometimes, people are like, oh, they're wishy-washy and they never make up their minds, and they're always like saying one thing and then they say something else. And dandelions, I feel like, are one of those things where it's like a flower that actually has such potent medicine for us and is a really powerful, powerful plant, but we kill it or pull it out of our garden.
Sadly, that we do.
It's considered
the bees, it's good for the bees.
Yeah, so it's considered a weed, but it's really very it's a really important, beautiful flower in terms of its medicinal properties.
Yeah. Apparently it cleans out the liver or the kidney, I forget, but yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing plant, and they're everywhere. And so just remembering that for Gemini, that you have this opportunity now to come into that joyful presence within you and create this new identity from that place, versus this feeling like you were saying, Madelaine, like, oh, I got to focus on this because of that, or this person's great because of this reason. It's really more about you.
Yeah, if you think about this transit, because if you think about it, like the mind is so, it can go anywhere. The mind is just like, our minds can go anywhere, right? But when Saturn's there and the sun is like, no, this is where your mind's going to go. This is how it's going to work. But what's interesting about those two flowers is like they have Venus. These are very much a relationship thing in a way, don't you? There's the old Venus cycle, the dead flower. And now we have this beautiful two flowers coming together. And I read for this very, very, very successful Gemini. And I keep getting the twin flame card for him. I'm like, you're a twin flame. You got it. He's like, So maybe this will be the time that he finally thinks, okay, I know who that person, well, he does know who that person is, but
he just is unwilling to accept it.
Well, he hasn't, he's in another relationship. So it's like, I'm like, and he's like, but he has not denied it.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I'll be very curious to see what happens to him.
Yeah.
I shall check in on him on his birthday coming up.
Yes. Get the tea. Tea. Okay. Shall we move on to Cancer?
Hello, Cancer. Let's look at your love, please, Cancers. My rising sign. And I'm like on the cusp. I'm 0 degrees Cancer, so I'm in between. And my sun is 29 degrees Sagittarius. So I'm like, both of my things are like right on the cusp. Like it's just a very weird.
Well, so then you're really looking and feeling the energies of both sides, of Gemini and Cancer, and then Sag and Capricorn.
Especially, Geminis have big foreheads.
I'm not Gemini, but I have a pretty big forehead too.
Are you Gemini?
No, I don't have any Gemini, but
what do you have?
My Venus is in Gemini, and Venus is, that's,
but it can be Vedic Gemini. So if you have anything Cancer, you don't have anything Cancer in your chart that I'm aware of.
I mean, in the Vedic I do, but not in tropical.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay. Anyway, back to
Cancer.
All right. So you guys, Cancers are going through it because they've got Saturn in their 9th house squaring their 12th house. So they've got karma issues. I mean, Cancers, because this is a relationship transit, having Venus being there, Cancers have Capricorn over their 7th house. Wherever we have Capricorn, there's a lot of letting go that has to happen. A lot of growth has to happen there. And the 7th house is relationships. So it's almost like the end of a karmic cycle for Cancers in some sort of destructive, self-destructive, or karmic response to romance. And so now there's this new birth where you're aligning with the true soul. And it's not just what you think, because this is more like you can't control it. So there's a flow involved because the Saturn squaring it. So it's like you're going to have to let go. Everyone's going to have to let go. We can't control this. But finally, the Cancers are aligning with the soul of love rather than the reactionary mind of love. And now that can be that you change your relationship, or you are now able to be in a relationship because you can delete the mind processing part of it all, and you can go into the soul. And now also a lot of Cancers, meet their person. I met my person with Jupiter in the 12th house 12 years ago. So a lot of Cancers had, and then we had that 8-year cycle. So a lot of Cancer risings are going to meet their person, because Jupiter in the 12th house would be husband, past life. And so this is very much a union energy for Cancer rising, where they are now they're really more aligned with themselves than they are the mate, because that's what happens. This is not just all Cancer rising. A lot of people, because I have to help a lot of people in relationships around this, which is basically where people are seeking their empty through relationships. And when you heal that, which is you find you fill your empty through your calling, your Jupiter, living your Jupiter, then you align with your true mate, because the universe is only really putting you in a relationship to support you, not to make you happy. We have to be happy by our own hand, by our own doings, how we know what makes us happy. That's what this transit's about, is knowing what makes you happy in the soul. And it's not a person. It's never, ever a person. So Cancers have had to really, and not just Cancer, because I do a lot of readings for people, helping them with this, that you're empty, that you think you're going to get filled up in a relationship, is not going to be through a relationship. It's going to be filled up from doing your Jupiter. That's our only real happiness in everybody's chart, is living your Jupiter. That's what fills our cup. People say, oh, I don't know what fills my cup. I go, I'll tell you. Your Jupiter right there. If your Jupiter's in the 9th house, you're going to love philosophy. You're going to love religious studies and history, historical, spiritual things, and astrology. So
that's hilarious, Madelaine. You're like, I'll tell you. I have the answer to that.
It's really simple. And yeah, so, and then plus you guys have the nodes. Cancer rising have the nodes in their 10th. They've got Saturn in their 9th. And Saturn is coming in, squaring your 12th house. You've got Pluto in your 8th. You're going to be rattled with fears around the government and taxes and money, and it's karmic. It's that fear of survival. It's past life trauma around surviving.
I feel like a lot of us are in that period right now. I think that's universal.
Yes.
That's sort of fear.
Yeah. And with Saturn squaring this whole June is pretty much, Saturn is squaring Gemini. So for everybody, there's going to be a governmental or some sort of restrictions or some sort of thing we have to obey or line up to. And, so yeah, that's basically it.
Okay. Well, for Cancer, we have the navel orange blossom, and I love this for Cancer because it breaks down the walls inside. And I feel like with Cancer, they've got a lot of, they're like, think about the crab, they're hard shell on the outside, but they're, look at him, or her, him or her. So the navel orange blossom breaks down the walls inside. It warms their heart, it allows them to expand their heart. It magnifies their sensuality and appreciation for life, and it allows them to feel more alive. And I feel like with all of these things, that's such a beautiful energy when we're thinking about the 12th house, which can be, it's deep. You're going into these areas of yourself and preparing to rebirth yourself in a sense. And so having a sense of breaking down those walls that you may have put there in some form or fashion to protect yourself. And now you're like, I'm just allowing those to dissolve, coming into my heart and really being able to embrace all parts of themselves to be born anew come the next new moon cycle for them. I don't know. That just feels really good. It just feels like, That's
as
nice.
hard as it might be for many cancers to go through this new moon in the next couple, well, then we have that full moon coming up. Sorry, yeah, full moon in Capricorn.
Capricorn. Yeah.
On the other side of it, you're going to get over some major past life traumatic sort of based fear that you'll heal from, and it'll be great on the other side.
Hang in there. And just remember this flower here, if you take a screenshot of this or even go to the website, you use my name, Amalia, for 10% off. I get nothing for it other than just being able to share the joy of a remedy for you. This might be a really good place for you to start if you need some support to get over that hump and to open your heart and to embrace it. It might feel really good.
I mean, not to throw any other cards in the story here, but this is the card that comes up a lot for me. And this is the awakening card. This is the realization. This is the aha, I see, I get it.
Yeah.
Keeps
there we go.
Yeah, it comes up a lot.
I love it. Leo?
Now, Leo, you guys are having Gemini in your 11th house. Well, you know, you have Saturn in your 8th. So yeah, that might be sort of tax stuff. So with a new moon in your 11th house in the sign of Gemini, you're definitely communicating a lot online, a lot of online writing, starting websites, or a new way to be on your public profiles, as it were, but also meeting new tribes. And you've got your Jupiter there for the year. So you're going to be meeting a lot of new tribes, a lot of new clients. It's a very lucky house to have Jupiter travel. It's good. I just had it through my 11th house. You meet lots of people and things expand. Your knowledge is going to expand. You're going to learn a lot through tribes. You may even just learn who your true tribe are. This is a very powerful house of liberation. And so a new beginning and literally like meeting new people. And they might know stuff that blows your mind, that really wakens you up on some level. Now you could meet a love online if you feel intuitively like dating websites, usually I think are kind of weird because you don't meet the person. You can't tell if you meet the person, but you might, if you get a push or intuitive nudge to go on there, you might meet your person there. That could be very good. So if you feel that, go with it. Again, this is a new beginning on who you are on social media. And Leo are here to learn how to express their true individual selves, their uniqueness, their individualities. So, there's sort of like, maybe you come on with new information. You now have a new, maybe you want to start a YouTube channel about something that you're really learning. Like I was watching these two guys who started a YouTube channel on traveling the world and just looking at ancient sites, and they're not educated. They don't know anything, but they're just exploring it, and they're doing extremely well. So you might just want to start something new. And again, Gemini is always about learning new information. Journalism is Gemini, writing. And this is public. The 11th house is public. It's out in the world. You're seen. My son is Leo rising. He's always talked about starting a YouTube channel. Maybe this is when it happens. But also Saturn in the picture, you're going to have to follow some sort of protocol, or you're going to have to verify your knowledge as being true, or you are going to be taxed for your social media things or money you're making on social media. I mean, that's a challenging one for me to figure out, but somehow Saturn is going to come in here and make sure you know what you're talking about, or Saturn is ending a group relationships that are not part of your long haul, not part of the long, and you find out information about these sorts of people. They don't really align with your new way of seeing the world, and you now venture another way. Could be ending a relationship with Saturn in your 5th, in your 8th. Your spouse could be having a hard time with money. When you have Saturn in the 8th, your partner usually is not earning very good money. So you may have to go out online more and push your product more online. Gemini is a selling energy. You're going to have to be more motivated to sell. Maybe you get more ideas on how to sell. I think that's it.
That feels like so much work, Madelaine. I'm like, oh boy. All right. I got my work cut out for me.
You know, when these new moons are, they make it easier.
Okay.
There's a little bit of a wind behind your back. And you know what? This is air energy, which is all about information. And Pluto trining that. So there's lots of information that we're all getting out there right now. On the collective level, the information that's coming out onto YouTube right now is blowing my mind.
It really, I agree with you.
I mean,
100%.
I'm just literally going, oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. Like every day.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is pretty incredible. Although discernment is necessary because there's a lot of misinformation.
You have to
Yeah. So here we go with the golden monkey flower. And I'm noticing now a theme with the colors. It's shifting a little bit as we are going along. You know, it's interesting. This particular flower, I've been working with this flower for about a week now, unbeknownst to me I mean, I kind of knew what it was for, but I was just kind of guided intuitively to the flower. And it's been fun to revisit the energy of the flower. This dissolves fear and rumination. And if you think about rumination, it's like that seems very Gemini, just kind of going over the same things in your head. It dissolves also the expectations of the worst possible outcome. So you kind of expect the worst, so you're bracing yourself for the worst. It dissolves that. And basically the key to that is to be able to express those things that you fear the most, to no longer allow it to have such a strong hold on you. And I know that I have personally done that recently around kind of the Venus Jupiter, revisiting the Venus Jupiter from 2016 and 2012. It's similar themes of, and speaking to the fears around those specific things, you know, around relationship and home. And so it's interesting how this flower so supports that too. So for any other Leos out there who might be in a state of fear around whatever it might be for you, and maybe it is getting out there and speaking more authentically online. I know for me, sharing those deep personal struggles can feel very challenging to share publicly. And now is the time that I'm being guided in, before even talking about this, to share a little bit more authentically, especially with my book, We to Me, coming out in the next probably couple months at the most. We're working on the final pieces of that. So, you know, and that's a challenging book to write about the, you know, just dissolution of a marriage, infidelity, all of the aspects that go along with that. And, you know, there's the spiritual part of it, the financial part of it, just the self-worth, all of that, often very challenging subjects for people to talk about.
Yes.
So,
well, what's interesting about that picture was it was the shadow, you know, behind it, inside it, coming out of your fears and coming out of that shadow, not showing yourself, like,
ooh,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, very
really
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, Madelaine. Cool.
I'm a picture reader. I can't
Well,
read words, but I can read pictures.
that's so funny. Well, I know, and it's like you're seeing it on the, like right there on the screen. That's cool. Yeah.
All right.
Virgo.
Again, you guys are ruled by Mercury. And, you know, I should really be talking about what Mercury's doing on this whole thing, because Mercury's in combustion too, which just really further sort of delays things. And but again, Mercury's coming up for rebirth too. So not to add complicated stuff to all of this. There's a lot going on here. So it's just basically a focus on what we really want and overcoming our perceived ideas of it. And then Jupiter expanding the new ideas, the new awakened, the new broader minded visions. And also Gemini Jupiter is a very visionary time. You get visions, you get ideas, and that happening to Cancer rising because it's in your 12th house. So for Virgo, you guys have all of this in your 10th house. So that is like career, your status could change. That's or can be a relationship house. If you're single, you could go into marriage. If you're married, you could go into singlehood. Or you get a Saturn squaring that could be a tax situation or some sort of restriction to your career. You have to get a new license. You have to get credited or whatever. But then we get an upgrade because this is a rebirth of Venus in your 10th house. So you're either changing your career to something that you do love, that's more in alignment, that you do really love, or it's an inspired because it's Mercury, you're ruled by that. So there's a mental inspiration. I just heard something. Did you know that some men are sexually attracted to intelligence? that it's a turn on, like an intelligence. They want to sleep with an intelligence, not just the way a woman looks like. I just was listening to this.
I mean, I've heard that. I've heard that, but not in a way that stuck with me, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's phenomenal. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
so they wake up to an intelligent relationship that's intelligently inspiring to them, you know, and then, but this is very much, and they may go into soul contract with that person, or they really wake up to a desire or a way that they wanted to, or they're in a career that they're not necessarily happy with. They want to end it, but because this is the end of that cycle, but now they want to do it again. They now know how to be happy in it. So, and Saturn is in your Saturn in your 7th house is basically stopping you from getting into non-soul aligned relationships or restructuring the relationship that you're in. So it's more in alignment, some kind of a structure coming in, or partnerships or agreements with people, because that's squaring that in your 7th house. So this is very co-collaborative, and I'm seeing 111, very co-collaborative. I can't help it. It's like staring me in the face. It's like some sort of a collaborative business venture that then has to be following. You have to do paperwork, blah, 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 get things, agreements, sign contracts around it, or you end a partnership there and now you go off on your own, or you end a relationship and you now start a business on your own, or you start a business with a relationship. But basically it's work-related relationships. It's very soul contract because the nodes are involved, and this is aspecting your relationship houses. So, and it can be a partnership. It can be friendship, partnership.
So is this very specific to Virgos, what you're talking about with the relationship stuff? Okay.
Yeah, because they've had Saturn over their 7th house for another year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's basically growing you, maturing you about relationships and aligning you with soul relationships, and it's happening right at the end of the cycle. So it's almost like realizing, for a lot of people, this is realizing who their true love is, and to wait, because divorce rate in this country is like 65 something percent, like super high.
Yeah.
And it's because people getting married to people they don't love. And so this is the energy of waking up who that person is, the right person to marry for the long haul with that Saturn square.
Oh, I have a lot I could say on that, but I won't.
Yeah.
I'll leave
You're
that.
writing a whole book about it.
Right. I know. Like, oh, so much to say. But
by the way, the 11th house for you could be published, because that's the 11th house is publishing too, just so you know.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Yeah. Might be a good time to submit.
Getting on it. So for Virgos, we have the Fire Star Orchid. And the Fire Star Orchid activates wild creativity, and the message is think outside the box. So what I love about this for Virgos right now is that they are so practical and organized. And so for them, this is allowing them an opportunity to innovate something. So to take their skills that they have, maybe think slightly outside the box that they usually are in, and innovate something new. And this also gives them the ability to brainstorm. So they can now come up with these ideas that could lead to something that could really further their career, that could leave a legacy, that could be something important for for many people. So,
well, yeah, flat out, a new moon in your 10th house is absolutely career up, like promotion, new job.
it feels like, even when you look at this card too, like we've got, you've got all of the yellow in the center, and then there's like a little bit of this reddish orange, but then it's surrounded by that same color. So it's almost like these little tiny seeds that are planted. They need a little bit of time to percolate, and then
Germinate.
yes, there you go. Thank you. That's a better word, germinate. So I love this for Virgos. And my daughter is a Virgo sun, and she's got a number of projects that she's working on. And I feel like there's so much potential for her. And it is very creative and very much outside the box, and allowing her to organize, because she's got that, organize her thoughts in a way that is creative and that is supportive to other people. And I feel like she's definitely leaving a legacy with her artistic endeavors and the words that she's using. I'm really proud of her. It's really, really cool stuff. I'm going to be taking some of her work from her Instagram, Orderly Thoughts, and sharing some insights and supportive elements to what she's sharing, because she's, kind of like sharing thoughts around things that we all feel at some time or another in our lives. And then that at some point, that's what I would love to do, to have that collaboration with her and be able to share some different spiritual insights related to some of the things that people think about, and, give a different perspective. So pretty cool.
This is a message really to everybody in all sides, that the way we're evolving as a society is further and further away from material to spiritual. Mm-hmm. So the more we are here to increase spiritual knowledge, or help increase spiritual knowledge, and spread spiritual knowledge, because they say we're going to survive better. Because we're shifting, and the polarities are shifting. So the more balanced we are spiritually, the sort of more abundant we're going to be in these energies. So it's a good time for everyone to sort of step out into a bit of most people's charts. Most people are here to advance society in a spiritual consciousness level. Anyway.
Well, and I feel like too, to just add to what you say, because what you just said, I completely agree with you. And it's also thinking about your actions and the things that you're putting out into the world, not based on only you, because I think it's important to factor yourself in. There needs to be a balance, but also how could that potentially support or positively impact somebody else? What we're doing here, what we're sharing here, our intention is to positively support people as they navigate these energies for the coming 2-week cycle and beyond, because they can come back and watch this again and glean more information that could be supportive down the road. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people and I'm like, go back and watch this video, or go back and watch that one, because that's going to really help you understand what's happening right now. And, I feel like that's just part of that pay it forward a little bit. And how can we support each other? How can we raise the vibrations, not to be all cheesy and cliche, but it's kind of the point, of this work. So yeah, totally agree with you, Madelaine. Thank you for bringing that up.
Just thought I should throw that into the soup. Soup of information, of which there is so many ingredients.
Oh my gosh, so many. So
now we're Libra.
Yeah. Talking about wisdom and knowledge and 9th house for Libra. Holy moly.
I love this for Libra, actually. They're going to have big awakenings, spiritual awakenings, big time. Because they're going to have Jupiter in their 9th house for the year. And they've got this is in their 9th house, which is where you have a shift, a complete and utter shift in what you perceive, or what you opening, a big mind opening. You may initiate a new course. You may start to learn astrology. You might want to learn something. You might go to university and start wanting to learn something more about something. Learn something more about something. But most likely it's going to be philosophical, or you start teaching Or you start writing and you start, because, you know, Gemini is a writing communication energy. Maybe you decide to start becoming a teacher or a coach or a public speaker. And this is a very spiritual house. Now, when I say spiritual, it doesn't just have to be, you know, astrology and spirits and all that. It can just be that it can be the law. It can, because even the law is about balanced and fair. It can be about progressing knowledge. Now, this is, you could start traveling and being a journalist. You could, so you're advancing knowledge around higher consciousness things that are helping the people, because Jupiter is always for the humankind, and it's about raising the vibrations. Talk about raising vibrations. The ninth house is about restoring faith. So there's some sort of knowledge or information that Libra are here to be a part of, increasing consciousness through some form of new beginning, that either they learn or they teach, and or travel or writing, philosophical. Now also Gemini's reading. You might start reading about this stuff really, really rapidly, wanting to learn more and more and read more. You might be really absorbed in books. I know a Libra who reads a lot. So there's going to be a lot of growth in knowledge and expansion in your belief systems, and it's more aligned. It's a belief shift that puts you, like, for instance, you could be in love with somebody, but they have a very powerful spiritual belief conflict. And then you suddenly wake up and you realize that's your real person. And so then you align with their belief more, or your mind opens up around beliefs around it, which enable you to align with something that's more in your heart, because a belief system will be holding rigidity, stopping you from something that's more in alignment. So, you know, spiritual awakening, that puts you in the right relationship, a soul relationship. Now, if I just want to look at Saturn is in your sixth house, so it's restructuring your day-to-day living to a more flow, to a more in aligned way that's better for you on a health, that you're improving your life. And it's hard work, the sixth house. So it's making you work hard at something. It's making you do better at something for yourself, maybe take better care of yourself. Well, stress, relieving stress, not allowing, a lot of people have to learn how to work hard without stress, how to flow in work hard.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think there's multiple courses and talks and products that supposedly have the answer to that, that conundrum. So here we are with the jade succulent for Libra, and the message is go for it. Now, what I find interesting is this also enhances the ability for Librans to take a unique idea or insight and bring it out to share it with other people. I feel like that's very ninth house, you know, some wisdom that you learned or some insight you have from something you learned to then share, teach it with others. And it also gives you clarity about what you want. And we talked about that at the beginning of this talk. It's having that clarity. Okay, maybe clarity on what do you want to teach? Maybe clarity on what type of relationship you want. Clarity on what makes you you. And then you can show up in a relationship in a different way.
Clarity on what a relationship is, which is a more spiritual and soul connection rather than a material thing. There's a shift to a spiritual relationship. That could be a very, very simple explanation of that transit.
Nice. So I feel like that kind of would sum that up for a lot of Librans too. Yeah. Because that can be challenging for them. So the jade succulent.
Especially if you're air, you're very in your head. You're very air, very heady. And the other thing about Libras is they are very, very good writers because they're air. They're they have a very natural, balanced way of thinking and seeing the world and writing and communicating, which we really need out in the world. So some people perceive that Libras are going to sort of be the new thinkers of the new earth, because they know how to really balance, see both sides of this coin very well. And we really need that now because we're so polarized, you know.
Well, let's send them some good energy to do that. Okay. Scorpio and the eighth. Oh boy.
Yeah. Okay. Eighth house. Well, I would say that this would be a transformational experience. So knowledge or information. And again, this is the relationship house. So a big wake up, a realization to a spiritual connection, or that they want to start working in the field of psychology, because Scorpios are good therapists and psychologists. They're good detectives. So they may suddenly decide they want to, this is a transformational thing. So it's like they may decide they want to start working in the field of therapy or the occult, because the eighth house is the occult. It's the unseen forces. It's that which is not seen. They may start some sort of investigatory. Well, you know, because Scorpio are eighth house, so this is a new moon in their own house. So it's very much in alignment with their energy, which is to really, they love to dig deep, go beyond, you know, see what is unhidden. So they're going to maybe want to really learn a lot about the unseen world. They might want to start learning a lot about crimes, because that's the eighth house. And like, you know, like I know a Scorpio who was a detective, and he's like working in sex crimes and things like that. So you might want to start learning and getting involved in some sort of hidden organized crime that you're going to start writing about or revealing or things like that, being a detective. Or it could be very spiritual. You want to learn more about the occult, which is the unseen forces, and working with them and being psychic and stepping forward in some sort of a psychic career. Then a new beginning also could be simply a relationship, a sexual relationship, and or perhaps a relationship that has been mostly physical, or being just in physical relationships. You're now waking up to wanting a spiritual relationship. Again, similar message. And then Jupiter's going to be there so when Jupiter transits the eighth house, you can increase your debt, but it works out for you. Like, in other words, it's good to get in debt. It's good to take risks when you have Jupiter there, but you want to be guided by your chart, and you want to do it with wisdom, and so there's some sort of an expansion. So debt can expand, and but you'll most likely be able to pay it off when it leaves, and it might be good to take a risk because then you get good results. Now Saturn is in your fifth house, so it's probably blocking relationships for you, or blocking superficial type relationships are being kind of blocked, so that you step more in alignment with a long-term potential relationship that's going to be more long-term. Or shall we say, you could have separation from a relationship or friendship, and you know, because this is kind of a tower energy, so maybe a relationship sort of comes crashing down, but you really learn something very powerful about what you do want, like we were saying. I think that's basically it.
I was feeling a lot of like, energy.
Yeah, it might be hard. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why when I first said it, I was like, oh boy, because I'm already.
You could lose, somebody could pass, you know, a death could be, and then you get an inheritance. That's always an eighth house thing, but also a big fear. There's usually, when you have eighth house transit, some sort of big fear around money and survival will kick in.
Yeah. I definitely am feeling that. I feel some comfort in what you were saying about getting into debt, or, you know, taking a leap of faith when it comes to money. Taking a risk is what you said, actually, that it can pay off, because I literally just did something today, and
good day to do it. Trining Jupiter, fantastic. Pluto trine Jupiter, great day to take financial risks.
Oh, good. That's great. Good. Happy to hear it.
Mercury there. Yeah.
Awesome. So, so we've got the African daisy, and this card looks so happy. It looks so joyful. And so I saw this and I thought, okay, maybe what I'm feeling is not going to be what is the truth of it. And it is. So it feels like this is more of an antidote to that. And what I find so interesting too is literally the words on this card talk about feeling like you have responsibilities on your shoulders, Gemini, you know, feeling like there's so much that you need to do, that you need to accomplish it, that you have to you have to hold in a way. And so when you feel like that, there's no time for fun. There's no time for playfulness. There's too much that needs to be done. And this is reminding you, you need the balance of the fun and the work, the responsibility and the play. And this flower also helps clarify your life's purpose, like what you're here to do. So again, that's really in alignment with the energy that you were talking about. And there's a recognition of your life's path. So the more you move towards that, the more you will find that balance of being able to step into the responsibility part of your life, but also be able to carve out that time for fun. And maybe the two are become the same. Maybe you're able to find joy in what you're doing to uphold your responsibilities or obligations. And when I look at this daisy too, it's like, you have this like focus in the center in soul contract work. There's one of the energies, Samek, which is also part of the Hebrew alphabet, is about finding that divine within you. This reminds me so much of that, finding that source of inspiration within you, that source of the divine within you, and then being able to expand it out and share and spread more of that by being able to connect with that within yourself. So this feels really
yeah, and also the eighth house is a big fear. It is like really triggers deep fears, and it's sort of like busting out of that fear that's dark, because it's kind of dark in there. So yeah, it's nice on the other side of the eighth house transit when you get to
the goody.
Yes.
Oh,
which happens the day after Venus is reborn. So hopefully we see things lighten up right after that, and again, it depends on your personal birth chart how this really plays out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
really,
there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Sagittarius.
Oh, I'm excited to hear about this for you, Madelaine.
Well, that's seventh house, so it's relationships, partnerships, new partnership agreements, new relationships. You're gonna have all these planets in your seventh house, so it's like obviously romantic, because it's a regeneration or a rebirth of Venus in your seventh house, which is starting a whole new cycle in romantic marriage partnership type relationships, but also can be contracted relationships, business partnerships, of course. Now Saturn is in your fourth house squaring it, so home situations, living situations being restructured, coming in, or maybe you're ready to get into a relationship with somebody, but you can't quite live together yet. You can't move in together yet. There's a restriction in home living environment situation. Then let's see. So, wow, I mean, that's huge in your seventh house. I mean, that's like the stellium in your seventh house. It's like seriously, like that's big co-contracting or soul contracted relationships coming in very, very strong here, because this is about the soul relationship, the true relationship. This is great for my son too. I'm happy to see this for my son. So it's like you're really in aligning with your true relationship that turns into most likely a soul contracted or co-working situation. But also the seventh house is making deals, making good deals. It's negotiations. Also it can be the law. If you are Sagittarius, a lot of Sagittarians are in law because the ninth house is the law. And so maybe you win a new beginning, you get a new client, and the seventh house is new client. It could be a new case if you're a lawyer that really is in alignment with some sort of passionate message that you're here to be a part of or to help the world in. Jupiter there. But there's definitely clarity coming in on what you don't want in relationships and what you do want in relationships. The relationship may not commit right away because of that Saturn square. And Venus comes out of combustion in July. So maybe we're really only going to see all this stuff really happening more in July when Venus comes out of combustion. But yeah, really, really awakening in now. You could be setting boundaries as well with a partnership, or the government has a boundary involved. but there's some sort of like maturity involved or a boundary setting that can be implemented as well. You know, or you end a relationship there. Let's say you're living with someone, you end it, and now you realize this is not a soulmate, this is not a true soul connection. So you end the relationship, you move out. Could be, but we're starting a new cycle. Absolutely, in your Venus house, brand new cycle, and it's most likely in this cycle. So it's an 8-year cycle. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be in with that person right away, but this is the new cycle now where you're going to be evolving into your true love relationship. That's it.
I find this so interesting. I'm thinking about someone in particular that is potentially in the beginnings of a relationship shift, let's just say. Yeah. And so would you say, Madelaine, that this could be karmic in nature, relationship wise, something from the past, because the nodes are involved, maybe a karmic completion, or maybe part continuation of a story? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it depends, because I did a reading for someone who has Pluto in their 7th and the South Node and they're most likely getting divorced. But see, what happens is you're going to know if it's true love, it's coming down. Opposite. If it's not true love in these energies, it's going to come down because the nodes are involved. So, and it's a South Node, it's trining the South Node. So you're going to get clarity to let go, to release this, to end it.
Yeah.
Or if it's the right relationship, you're going to get clarity that you've been very codependent in this relationship. You need to stop trying to control it through sacrificing the self or pretzeling the self to be in the relationship or to hold on to the relationship. So you're going to let go of the relationship and see if it stays or not. That's the best thing to do in these energies, is let go and stop trying to make it work and see if it lasts on its own, if it holds without you doing work. Because Libras tend to do a lot of work to try to hold the relationship. So with the South Node there, we're letting that go. So then you're seeing what floats to the top, what relationship does stay, what is, gonna, and if it stays, then what you're doing is you're transforming that relationship to a much healthier, balanced state.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, wrong relationships are going to end.
Yeah, I feel that too. So we have the squash blossom for Sagittarius, and the key word here is liberation. So I feel like it's kind of like, all right, I don't need to say anything else. Liberation in terms of relationships and how you feel in your body. This is what this relates to. So I don't know, for me, whenever I've been in a relationship that doesn't feel quite right, I feel it in my body. There's something feels out of alignment, not quite right, unsettled, just not in flow. So you will know. You let your body share its wisdom with you. And then this also has a message of healthy sexual or sensual expression. So with Gemini, we have expressive energy. So it's being able to come into, and sexual and sensual energy are very creative. So, maybe it is, 7th house could also be, new contracted partnerships or relationships. So it could be that you come into that creative part of yourself and you create something really amazing. And now you have a collaborative creative project with someone that you're moving forward on, that you're signing on the dotted line together and making that commitment to whatever it is. So I feel like this could go in a number of different ways. Yeah. So it could go a number of different ways for people. But I just love this looks very, it's almost like a megaphone in a way, giving them a way to express themselves, to be themselves, I don't know. It does feel liberating.
Interesting, because the fire Sagittarius is a fire energy. There's that fire energy, which is really much about, so if this is in relationship, it's about the relationship that truly does come from your solar plex, your sacral. Well, I always get, what's the one, the orange one, where it's like what inspires, because if you get really inspired and you're doing what you really inspire, you attract your true sexual mate, because that's the same connection. You're inspiring their chakra to there. So it's like the relationship that truly inspires you, the relationship that truly lights your fire, Passion, passion,
Passion.
passion.
Well, and sacral is the orange
Yeah.
chakra. And that real, I mean, that this is connected to reproductive organs too. So it's there is that energy of creation. And then, I mean, even there's some yellow in it too. So yes, there's definitely a connection to the solar plexus and that emotional energy and that the place of your own self-empowerment too. There's both. So
Yeah.
yes, good stuff for Sag, even though it might be a little
I start
uncomfortable.
with Saggies. I like Saggy. Yeah. And it's funny how I get this interesting. I'll show you for Sagittarius. Well, what it's doing on their chart is pretty crazy. It's creating a rectangle, a mystic rectangle. So they're just to remind people that Jupiter Gemini is very visionary. You get downloads, you can get really clear new ideas, new visions and things. So anyway, that would be another time.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So Capricorn.
All right, Capricorn. So you guys have it in a new moon in your 6th house. So there's a new beginning in a routine around your health. It's a busy energy. These are busy energies as well. So you're going to be very busy, a new job, new clarity about work, what you want to start doing on a day-to-day. New information can come in, new knowledge, you learn something. So you start a new job. But really, this is the house of what you do on a day-to-day that determines your health and your wealth. So we're looking at more, it's possible because we have Saturn in your 3rd house, you have information that tells you that your health, you need to do something for your health. So you have to start a new routine. You have to quit something. You can't do sugar anymore or alcohol or something. There could be bad news around your health, which then starts you on a new journey to be much more health conscious and a better routine day to day. Now you could hire a new employee because it's the house of employees. It's also the house of service. You suddenly become very clear on what it is you want to do that is of high service. You suddenly have clarity on how you want to be of service. What else could we? You could get a new pet. I've seen people with new moons in their 6th house. They get a new. My dad did. He got a new cat. My son gave him his cat to take care of for a little while, but it was literally like a new moon in his 6th house. I couldn't believe it. And he had a new cat smack literally at the time of the new moon. He's got this cow on his lap. So you could get dropped a new pet. Let's just look at that Saturn. I don't want to talk about Saturn, but Saturn in your 3rd house would be communication, knowledge, information coming in that tells you there is something you have to do. Maybe you have to start working. Maybe you haven't been working and now you have to start working because you hear news from the government or you get a letter in the mail. But this is in alignment. So whatever you start right now is much better for your long-term health or work. Stabilizing. It's going to stabilize. Saturn's coming in and stabilizing things.
What I find so interesting is, you're talking about, how the day-to-day, the things that might be blocking us from moving forward with our work, with our health, whatever that is. And one thing I know from my own life is that when we're holding on to something that is not, I don't want to use that saying not serving us, but it's not benefiting us in any way. It's actually causing us harm. That usually has a connection to forgiving someone, forgiving ourselves. And the fireweed is reminding Capricorns of just that. So where can you forgive someone or forgive yourself in order to recover in some way from a pain, from a past traumatic experience, in order for you to shift your health, shift your day-to-day? Because that could be holding you back in both your day-to-day life and your health. Holding on to grudges or pains or perceived hurts can really damage us. So
yeah, that makes me think of stress too, because the 6th house is high stress. So it's like a new beginning. You realize something, you're stressed out about your work. So you're a new spiritual practice that calms you down, that you find grounding as well.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the ability and knowing that with this particular flower, you have the capacity, you have the strength to forgive, to lean into love, to let old pains and hurts go. It dissolves the emotions around the experiences. And so when we can get to a place of forgiveness, and that could also just, I feel guided to share this. I don't know for whom, but forgiveness and connecting with that place of forgiveness does not necessarily mean you have to have a conversation with that person. It's really about having that conversation. And as crazy as this might sound for some of our viewers or listeners, is like imagine, close your eyes and imagine you're sitting in front of that person. You're sitting there like having a conversation with each other, and you're able to look them in the eyes in your mind's eye and say to them all the things that you would like to say and speak to that place of forgiveness that you're in. And it's amazing what can be healed in that practice alone, when you're really truly from the heart saying the words, expressing the words and that energy. It's not like I forgive you. It's I truly forgive you. And being able to say it from that heart versus the head, it can shift things in such a profound way. So I think
I really like you bringing that up with this new cycle in Venus, because we will all have done a cycle in love where we've been out of alignment. So the forgiving people through this cycle, because we've all had to learn something, and it may have looked like they were being shitty, or,
yeah.
So the forgiving thing is a beautiful thing to do to start the new cycle, to really forgive and let go of the past cycle that we've been involved in that cycle of love, to really release that whole past energy so that we can start a fresh new energy, cleared up of all of that. That's a big reason to do that. Yeah.
Big.
But also, I just wanted to add this card showing up in all my readings. This is so Gemini. This is so this energy. So here's swords, right? And here's people or ideas. Now, how I do my readings, the first card I pulls into the center. So we're pulling into our center. We're pulling away from old thoughts, old ideas, old situations, and pulling more into our center. That is just card just keeps literally flying out of the deck.
Well, and I feel like that's a great reminder for all of us to, we can get very easily thrown off course. Okay, let's think about Gemini, our mind. It can take us down all of these pathways that are really not valuable to us. So it's constantly coming back into that center point. I think that's a great reminder in general. I mean, I had a situation that happened last night where it touched on a wound that is pretty much healed, but I was surprised by the emotional response I had to it. And I had to sit with that and then also give voice to it without it becoming a big deal. It was just like something that I needed to speak to because I didn't want it to fester. I didn't want it to become some thing. And it was easy. Like, it was just an easy, like, okay, we just cleared it, but it could have turned into something significantly bigger had I let my mind blah, 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 wander away. So
I relate.
Totally.
Oh
boy. Okay. So, Aquarius.
Well, you guys have Pluto in your first house, trining Jupiter, so you could be making good money. That Jupiter trine Pluto is a very good money. A lot of people that I know have had nice things happen, very nice things happen financially. So, but you're gonna have Gemini in your fifth house, so new friends, you could get pregnant. Very much, because you're going to have Jupiter in your fifth house for the year. So you're going to definitely want to have barriers between you and the anybody that can make you pregnant, unless you want a baby. But then that's a metaphor as well for creative projects, new friendships, new information, knowledge, and also entrepreneurial. Also, that's very intelligent house. It's our intelligence. So it's like a lot of learning through friends. It's a new Venus cycle in your 5th house. So you might meet a new person that's your true person, or you know a friend right now that you now realize is your soul true connected spiritual mate. But most, and it's trining the nodes. There's a new belief system. You have the nodes there, so you're constantly, your mind is consistently sort of waking up and learning new things about spirituality and knowledge and information. And then you've got and truths. But this is really actually trines your 1st house, so that's really nice for Aquarius. So it's kind of like lots of new friendships, lots of fun. Mercury over your 5th house, very fun, mercurial, very social, a lot of socializing, busy with meeting new people, information, a lot of chatting. But you're going to see who are the real friends. You're starting a new Venus cycle here. So you're going to be most likely possibly ending relationships that aren't, there might be a little bit of a Tower card in a friendship, which you now realize wasn't a real friend, but then you see who your true friends are. It's an entrepreneurial house. You start a new entrepreneurial project, a creative writing project with friends or your spouse. It's a collaborative. What else is 5th? Entrepreneur, friends, pregnancy, new information, knowledge, writing, communicating. Maybe you start acting. It's the stage, the 5th house. Maybe you start performing. You want to start performing. You're an actress. You get on stage. You get over a big fear with Pluto in your 1st house. So you now get out there, get more out on stage in front of people. I think that's kind of covers it.
Sorry for all the commotion over here. I
Oh,
was
that's okay.
pouring my water.
I'm myself. I'm going to go ground after this. I'm tapping my.
I was pouring my water and I poured it all over my desk, all over my digital notebook, like the whole thing. So anyway, I was listening and I was tuned into what you were saying though. So what I find interesting too is that, the way I interpret this anyway, is that in order to come into a place of creativity and to potentially birth something new, child, project, whatever that is, there often needs to be, maybe less so with the child, but there often needs to be an awareness and a connection, maybe a spiritual connection to that creative process, and this is the time period for Aquarius where the passion flower will support that process. This card reminds us that we have a spiritual connection that can guide us. And what I also love about this is it encourages letting go of mental chatter. So the just stuff that's not supportive. I did not realize this until today. The other aspect of passion flower is that it allows for healing to happen in your sleep. So for Aquarians, get some rest, sleep, because what this card is telling you is that in the process of slumber, you will be able to heal. And so, I know like in my dream world, in my dreamscape, a lot of healing takes place when I'm asleep. And I can often wake up and feel that, or I can also feel when it hasn't completed, like it started the process and then maybe I woke up or there was some internal resistance. It's finding ways to access a deep sleep, a healing sleep, in order to heal some wounds and some issues that lie beneath the surface, and opening yourself up to that spiritual connection that will really be supportive in this process. And that can lead to inspiration and intuitive insights that would be really supportive of you creating something new. So passion.
I like the angle on it. That is very 5th house, creative. It is passionate. It's Leo energy. It's the fire energy. So yeah, creative self-expression, passionate about it.
And then, you've got the purple in this, in the background of this card, and even in the flower, it is that really profound spiritual connection that will help in that process.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Pretty cool.
And the relationship with that two flowers is a relationship house. So for some of you, it's a relationship.
Yep. There we go.
Yep.
All right.
And
Rounding it out with Pisces.
so Pisces with the Saturn in your first house, forcing you to grow up, forcing you to mature in some about your identity and about who you are. And my son is Pisces rising with Saturn on his ascendant right now. I know a couple, and it's like, there's a rapid maturity, responsibilities, but Gemini is covering your fourth house. So it's so funny. I just did a reading for my son yesterday. I said, you're going to move. And I hadn't checked his chart. He sends me reads all the time. He goes, Mom, what does it say? And so anyway, I said, looks like you're moving. Like, he kept getting the Four of Wands, 10 of Pentacles, 10 of Cups. And that's like, wow. So Pisces rising, you're good at a new beginning in a living situation. He's Sagittarius, so he's got it in his seventh house of relationships. So a lot of Pisces, Sagittarius. I'm Pisces moon. So I may end up moving too. Because in Cancer rising, you have the South Node in your fourth house. Most Cancers are probably going to leave or move living situations with that South Node there. So Pisces, relationship coming in, new beginning, moving, a new beginning in a living situation. You may buy a property, buy a real estate. You may start a new project on a home project, a building project, depending on, actually that's the cycle back, way back when the nodes 18 years ago. This is when I started a construction project, reconstruction on my house, or renovated a house with this exact transit. My son moved. This Venus transit happened. A lot of Pisces moved, left a living situation, moved out, ended a relationship, started a new journey. Now we're at the end of that cycle. So it's a good chance you move into the right home, the right environment if it's a relationship with the right person, if you're Sagittarius there too. Now, a lot of learning, a lot of times being spent, or you could suddenly start an online course that you're learning at home, new thing to learn at home online, or you start learning about construction or living or real estate. You sell. This is really, I know a Pisces rising who just made a lot of sales, fourth house, did very well. She's a real estate agent. She has planets in her fourth house. Really good seller, a real estate seller. So she just literally on that day that Pluto trined, Jupiter was trining her fourth house. She like closed on three house deals like that day.
Nice.
Yeah. So really good in financial situations could happen here for Pisces around a real estate property, or you begin, like I own land, maybe I begin to start the process with the government there, getting permits and starting to maybe a foundation. The fourth house is foundation. Maybe I start the foundation on my project. Family, new family. Anything else? It's it could be a very emotional situation. Like a Tower card, maybe something falls apart in a living situation, or, if you have a roommate, the relationship doesn't work. And so they move, but a new situation is going to come in. The new moon is bringing you a good situation. So go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to jump on the family angle for this.
Okay.
Because that's what it feels like. And this black bat flower is, to me, this card feels like a lot.
It does, doesn't it?
It feels like a lot.
It's the purple color for Pisces, though.
It is. And it feels like a lot. It might feel a little challenging. However, what it's actually offering you is quite positive. So this card gives you a sense of fierce compassion, for yourself, but it could also be for someone else. So like there may be a family member that has not been supportive of your vision for your life, or something, some creative project, or the way you live your life in general. And now you're able to, this also gives you confidence to speak your mind. Again, that Gemini energy. And in doing that, it's going to propel you forward in some way and create this feeling of fearlessness in your life, which can be really, really potentially positive for you in the long run. So, you know, and this could lead to a new home or something along those lines as well. But to me, this feels more like clearing up something, completing something when it comes to a family of origin energy, and then being able to express yourself in a way that clears something up. Because this, you know, when you look at this, it's like we have like the main part of the flower here, but then there's all these little, like these smaller pieces to it as well. And then these tentacle looking things that come off, and how it could potentially, it's like this ripple effect, you know, like one person perpetuates a cycle, and then that it bleeds out in ways that you don't even realize. So while this might feel like a lot, it's actually quite magnificent when you think about the long-term impact. I feel like there's something you want to say, Madelaine.
Well, yes, there is. You're right. Bingo. Well, I can't help notice that that's the same color as your shirt, that flower. And I know you're with a Pisces. So there's something about you and your Pisces that, and those little white streaks coming out are spirituality and awakening. And it's like, I think he's starting to see the spiritual path and, you know, your guy.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
That's why I was sitting here going,
I know. You're like, so, I want to say this. Yeah. And that's actually true, because I feel like he's really opening himself up more. We're having more profound, spiritually oriented conversations. They're typically short, but we're having them. Yeah. And it's fun. It's really, really fun. So yeah. Wow. Lots of activity.
Yeah.
Lots of activity.
Hours. What is our average length? Are we always 2 hours? I always think we're like an hour and a half. I thought we were going quicker today, but we're like up to 2 hours. Usually we're like half. So
an hour and a half. Usually, an hour and a half to an hour and 45. Sometimes we've gone over. So this is definitely one where we did. Thank you for those who have stuck with us or who have been with us for till now.
2 hours.
Yes. We thank you. We are so appreciative of your presence. Thank you for those that are watching now. Anyone who's yes, and anyone that's on right now, if you have any questions, since we're here, and we'll see if anyone has any specific question around anything that we shared or anything that we can clarify before we sign off. We're going to give you a minute or two to do that, as Madelaine and I plug any projects and different things we have going on. We'll share that and then give you an opportunity to ask any questions. I'll check the chat and see what's there. And so, Madelaine, while I'm checking the chat, you want to share a little bit about what you've got going on as far as your projects and different things?
Yeah, if you're in the Sandpoint area or northern Idaho or drivable to Sandpoint, there's going to be a fair at the store here where I'm going to be one of the readers there on June 22nd. And yeah, if you want a reading, I do Zoom readings, so contact me anytime. I do tarot, I do both. I like to work with both.
And it's super fun to have the experience of the astrology with the tarot, you know, if you're into tarot, and even if you're not, to be able to see the connections and the correlations, it's really, really fun. And I feel like Madelaine makes it into a really expansive experience in a playful way. It doesn't feel boring or heavy, or it's a great way to flow with what's coming up for you.
Yeah, because there's so many, you know, I'm always learning astrology. It's just sometimes the cards will really help see what the transit, clarify that transit even more.
Yeah. And I love using, I have a number of different decks that I use, not just, I know you love all decks, Madelaine, but tarot is one that's very connected to you.
Yeah.
Where
every time I try to work with another deck, I'm like, I try to do it. And then the next thing I know, I just throw it off and I pull out my tarot deck.
Yeah. And I've got a few decks, maybe 5 or 6 that I love. My clients know, it's funny if I haven't, I usually bring cards into the session just whenever it feels appropriate. But if we, for whatever reason, have not had an opportunity to talk about the cards, I've had people go, well, wait, before we wrap up, what are the cards? Because they're fun and they're such a great way to connect with the energies. And for anyone who's interested in that, I have, please leave a comment or pop over to my website or send me a message. My info is below this video, because I have a course called Getting Started with Cards for people who are unsure, or they have no idea where to start, or they're a little bit nervous about it. It's very inexpensive. It's a great starting point for you. And there's some great tips and suggestions as a great launching off point if it's someplace that you're interested in but haven't had the inspiration or courage to step into yet. So let's see. All right, so it looks like everyone seems like they're clear and there's no questions. Everyone, I guess we did a good job, Madelaine. They're
got clarity.
Yes. So yes, so for anyone looking for any sort of support, Madelaine and I are here for you. All of our contact information is below. If anyone's in Sandpoint, like Madelaine said, in June 22nd, go see her live. I do not have anything upcoming live, but I will be sure to post it here for folks as it comes up in our cosmic chats. And then Madelaine and I will be back here on, I'm just looking to make sure I say the right day, Monday, June 17th, same time, for the next cosmic chat, which is the Capricorn full moon. So just put that on your calendars, folks. Monday the 17th, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific for the next moon cycle. In the meantime, thank you for being with us. Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff that really helps us get more people in front of our work. And we're really appreciative, and thank you for being here with us.
Thanks, everyone. Yes, thank you. And thanks, Amalia, for having me.
Of course, it's a collaborative effort. Everyone joining together, even those who are watching us. It's awesome. So thank you for being here, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye for now.